Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about Panasonic GH7. So let's dive deep into it. So this GH7, now here's the deal, this is a new flagship of a Micro Four Third. What does that mean? That simply means Micro Four Third was a very big deal around 15 years ago, but it slowly started to fade away. Full frame started to actually become cheap and all the unique features that they had started to become normal. Actually, all it happened is in the early days, the assumption was that the actual sensor block would be the most expensive part of digital camera. It was true back in the day, but as silicon technology improved, that is no longer the case. Sensor is not that expensive. Any camera, take any camera, sensor is not the most expensive part. The most expensive part is the SoC, or system on chip, that goes behind that system. Consequence of that is, if you make a small sensor, you no longer get that cost saving, because if to give it good feature set, you have to put SoC. You reached a point where it's like your Micro Four Third cost same as full frame. Back in the day, it was because a GH5 used to pay higher tax because they did not have recording limit. Nowadays, that's not an issue, but again, that only backfires on these things. So fundamentally created a scenario where Micro Four Third was a big hype thing, but it never actually got enough root and slowly started to fade away. And there were only two major players, one of them already yeeted out of there. So Micro Four Third is like so Panasonic is the only major player that is there. That is doing. So they have released, if you are already invested into Micro Four Third system, it's not all gone, it's still there, and this is a flagship brand new one. Now this is supposed to be $2,200 in USA. Now in India, that should translate to less than 2 lakh rupees, but I do expect in India it should be costing 2,50,000 rupees. Again, that's based on all the previous models and the relative cost models, so do expect it to be a bit expensive in India, but okay-ish kind of price. Now it is 25 megapixel BSI CMOS sensor, backside illuminated CMOS sensors. Now why this is a big deal? Well, simply because this is finally first time when Panasonic is like, okay, we're gonna give you actual autofocus in GH class cameras. GH5 was mind-bogglingly good. It was not good, it was mind-bogglingly good, but the issue was always the autofocus was just not there. Now people were like, okay, you could do manual focus. Hey, people do not want to do that. Contrast detect works again for photo, it's actually good, but for video it was not. The breathing, Panasonic breathing became a thing. So finally they went into contrast detect. Let go of contrast detect, went into phase detect. Now phase detect is a technology, it works. So it's there, it works. Inbuilt cooling fan. Now this is a very big deal for Indian shooters. Why? Our ambient temperature is very hot. Now the sensor does not get hot in itself. What gets hot is generally analog to digital converter, and what's worst culprit of heat is SoC, system on chip. So that system on chip, if you are not cooling these two elements, you're gonna reach a overheating point. In India, it's very obvious, especially if you are God forbid doing anything in outdoor during summer. Yeah, that's gonna be rough, so to say. So in those sort of scenario, you will be glad that this camera has cooling fan. Now I am genuinely happy that Panasonic is one of the few brands that are like, let's just put cooling fan even on very low end, and they are doing not only with their Micro Four Third, also with their full frame. So you can get a camera and you won't be like, as long as you can provide it power, as long as you can provide it memory to write the video files, you won't have to deal with recording limit. So this is a really good tool for people who are in the closer to equator kind of scenario, hotter places. So for them it's like, yeah, this is good. Another system, you have to put Peltier module, then you have to put another heat sink behind it, because again, nobody actually designs camera with heat sink in mind. So you have to leach the heat away somehow, and again, normal temperature delta will not allow you to do that, so you have to use Peltier module. Hell of a hazard. You've seen that, that's why Peltier modules are used in gaming phones to cool it. So inbuilt cooling fan, it's a really good thing for hot environment use, and it has flip out screen, which is complex design, meaning they are no longer just giving you normal flip out like my Canon 800D, because a lot of people complain about flip out screen, which why, but I get it. And they're like, okay, what if you also win? Meaning if you do not want flip out, but you just want a tilt which does not change the axis. A lot of people are very serious about that. I do not want to change the axis. Okay, you have it. And if for many people it's like, I want flip out, okay, you have it. So it's a win-win-win scenario, so everybody wins here. And thankfully they are using CFast type B, and which is the irony of irony, given the fact CFast type B is XQD, which is made by Sony, and the only camera company that is not using it is Sony. So this is used in Nikon, Fuji, Canon, and Panasonic, and the only company that is not using it is Sony, even though they are the one who made it. They were the one who made the XQD. They are the one who sold the XQD standard, not sold as in like had a collaboration with CFast Association. And then they're like, what if we did not use it? What if we create new garbage? Life is weird. So overall, this is a very good system, and you can pay attention to the fact that it has super speed 10 Gbps. What does that mean? That means you can actually dump a file from inside of the camera. Basically, let's say you have CFast Express, you want to dump data out of it, you could get 1 gigabyte per second compared to normal USB 3 that is only 500 megabytes per second. So it's a good, meaning it's not the bare minimum, it's actually good. And you see full size HDMI, ultra good. So it's a good competent system with a good competent autofocus. So what are the headline features, why this is making such a difference? Now this almost reaches to my orgasmic camera, where this is the first time they are using 32-bit audio. Now let that be very clear. How the heck there is a big jump from going from JPEG to RAW? Same jump happens from going from single audio system to 32-bit float audio system. Because if you are doing it right, 32-bit float audio simply means you take mic input, it goes to what we call preamp circuit. So whenever you adjust the gain, what are you electrically changing? You are adjusting the gain on that preamp circuit. So you have two preamp circuit, you take one to the lowest possible, take another one which is hot. Now why do you do that? Well, here's the deal. Now let's say this is the dynamic range of one analog to digital converter, dynamic range of another analog to digital converter. If you do this, like have one higher gain, one lower gain, so this offsets it. Now you have a much wider range. What does that mean? That simply means physically at this point in time you can buy a 32-bit float audio recorder that cannot clip. The microphone will clip before the recorder, meaning mic has this much range and the sensor that is 32-bit audio that has this much range, meaning audio setting clipping is not an issue. And then you heard the fact float. What does that mean? That simply means the mathematics design in such a way that it goes above zero, meaning it goes into negative. So when you clip the audio and you're playing back, it's like nothing. You select it in the software that's supposed to attribute, select that area, bring it down. The data comes back from the negative section and voila, all the data is saved. So this is a very big jump. For people who have XLR mic setups, they are like, shut up, take money and give me DMW XLR2. Now this is why I'm saying this is half of what I want. 32-bit directly going into video file, awesome, GG. It's just that what I really wished if it was done by USB. Now you're like, why? Right now, this equipment would be made by some company, but here's who can make better equipment. That's all audio companies. Mixpre can make better one, Rode can make a better one, Zoom can make a better one, Tascam can make a better one, and these already exist. So if they had a way where I can use USB 32-bit float audio transfer, and be mindful, it's a thing, USB does support it, you can do with your computer also. So if they had that way 32-bit audio, because again the SoC has the algorithm to store float file into a video file, that part is sorted. Just give me a pipe rather than going through this pipe, which is awesome for people who have the microphone setup. It's already shut up, take money. But for everybody else who could have been like, hey, I already bought a 32-bit let's say Zoom F6, which was a very big deal when it came out, like USB data done. And again, 4 channels, a proper high grade system. Companies will be like, shut up, take money. So this is half of what I want. 32-bit float in a video file, awesome. No post-processing, no syncing, nothing, awesome. But just like the pathway, come on, USB. So that's there. Again, another aspect is, what if you want to basically run your camera on USB power bank or USB adapters? Now you have two options. One is you using the USB port directly, but what if it's occupied? There are things that could occupy it. So they have created this puppy, which is a USB-C power delivery dummy battery. Now this is a very clever idea because again, USB-C power delivery has a lot of standards, which includes 9-volt standard, meaning this can easily provide 9-volt, and they have built the circuitry and all the required accessories. So you just plug it in, have that USB-C and plug any competent mobile charger, and you do not have to worry about it. You're just like, done bro, done. You do not have to buy fancy adapters. Heck, the adapter that I need for this Canon 800D is 10 times more expensive than this one. So because again, that's a proprietary Canon BS, this is power delivery. So that's a really good use of like, hey, dummy batteries, okay, what if we have dummy battery that uses USB-C? That's like, shut up, take money. Really good for a lot of people. Another aspect, which is I'm genuinely happy that Panasonic and Blackmagic is the only companies that I can just name that do this. USB-C SSD video recording. While CFast Type B is a good standard, not only in terms of speed, physical durability, it's a really good card. Problem is still very expensive, meaning dollar per gigabyte is not that good. Meaning, if you take the same amount of money that you are spending on that card, you buy SSD will always be better, bigger, cheaper. So fundamentally, it reaches a point where it's like, if I could, again, if you can afford a CFast Type B, awesome, go GG. That would be your ideal choice. But for the amount of money that you will spend, and you will get 1 terabyte of card, here you can get 4 terabyte for same price. So 4 terabyte. And this was the reason why this makes so much sense. Now you have a SSD, directly you're recording it, and directly, and be mindful, SSD can be 20 Gbps. So even though camera can only write around using the 10 Gbps protocol, you can dump the footage into your computer using 20 Gbps or even 40 Gbps. Although 40 Gbps SSDs are expensive, but 20 Gbps is quite easy nowadays. Very, very easily you can buy it. So now you will have very long record time because you have giant capacity, and you can have giant runtime, and because it has cooling fans, none of the part will overheat. So this is a really good setup. Now let's talk about the better part of it. These things, good. Let's make it awesome. ProRes RAW. Shut up, take money. So ProRes RAW simply means not only this camera can do recording, it can do raw recording in a format that other than DaVinci Resolve, every company loves. This is the professional setup. Now, why DaVinci does not do it? Most likely DaVinci did not had a proper love-making session with Apple. Again, ProRes is an Apple format. You cannot just like, oh, my software can run it, especially at that level. So they need to pay Apple a lot. So I think DaVinci is not doing it. Now, the ironic part is they should use Blackmagic. Again, ProRes, awesome, but should have Blackmagic. And I'm like, why? Because Blackmagic is the part of the L-mount alliance. Who is the other part of L-mount alliance? Panasonic. And who supports a L-mount alliance software? DaVinci. If they had both of them, nice, it would have been like, whoa. Now be mindful, at this point in time, video editors blame DaVinci rather than Apple. So that's why I said, like, going into Black RAW system would have been awesome. Again, you can record it internally on CFast Type B, or you can have SSD. So both are awesome. These are headline feature. I really love that 32-bit file recording. At least we reach that point. Someday in future, somebody will figure out, hey, what if I take a proper audio, recorder's audio? That would be awesome. Imagine if it was like 8 channel or something like that, and you're like, wouldn't that require very high bandwidth? No. 32-bit float audio, even at 190 kilobits per second, it's not that high. Not that high, like few megabytes per second. Not that high. Especially when you're talking about ProRes RAW, it's like, bro, it's like you have enough spare bandwidth to do that. Just so close, so close. But again, if you are already in a setup where you have a mic setup and all that, you just buy this one, BWM, because again, you need a system that has 2 preamps, 2 analog to digital converter, then you sync it into one 32-bit float audio, then you get the benefit. Then you get the high dynamic range and audio does not clip. So these are really good feature set. I like this. This is smart. This is really genuinely good. And audio setup, it's nothing comes close to this. If you are happy with the preamp quality of DMW XLR2, done. Shut up, take money. Shut up, take money. And remember, you do not have to worry about battery powering that, because again, you can directly run all of it USB-C. So this is a really good setup. Now, what about performance? It's a really good tool that people were waiting for during the GH6 era. Now, if basically Panasonic was way too stubborn with face detect, if they had face detect, or at least they would have had face detect when they started as their lineup, they would have been awesome, but they missed their chance, so to say. So now they are getting it. So meaning people who hold on to Micro Four Third ecosystem, they can actually finally like, I have a new upgrade path, which is really good. It's a good tool. It works. And not to mention, Panasonic is one of the few brands that actually upgrade their tool after they sold it to you. Sometimes they ask for money, but they do that. So Fuji also is a company that is very well known for improving the product after its release. Canon and Nikon and Sony, all three are like, oh, I sold the camera, man. Sometimes, unless there is bug breaking, game breaking bugs, they do not generally fix it. So Panasonic and Fuji are different in that regard. So it has a lot of algorithm, meaning I can actually see in future even more algorithms coming into it. So now not only you can have a human, animal, car, motorcycle, train, aeroplane, and not to mention they actually had enough wisdom to like, hey, planes could have 2 profile feature, meaning if you are looking like this in an airport, that's different. You are looking like this, that's different. Now Canon also does this. Now only difference is Canon has reached a point where the algorithm system can auto detect the algorithm needed, meaning you look into a system and it can figure out, hey, do I need to use animal variant or car variant or motorcycle variant? It can auto detect. Panasonic has not reached there yet, but it's much better compared to everything else. So is there, and it's much better than the past. Let that be very clear. A very better system, really robust, and it's a trustworthy system, meaning is it as good as like Sony or Canon? No. Is it bad? No. Is it much better than Panasonic breathing, like this contrast detect breathing? Yeah, much better. So really better system, and it's, unless you are doing something very extreme, you do not have to worry about it. So question becomes, for whom this is made? Well, this is made for people who are already invested in Micro Four Third. If you have that ecosystem, jump into it. There is nothing better than this at this point. And really good system with a good autofocus, meaning as a video tool. If you're like, hey, I want a good video tool for, like, let's say you want to learn photography, cinematography, and this is your job, that's a very good tool, like a really high-end tool where you can just do ProRes RAW internally. That's like, shut up, take money. That's like significant. Let that be very clear. That's not a mild thing to do. That's a significant thing. And given the fact that you can do it on an SSD, given the fact that you can do 32-bit or you can do a lot of things, and it has cooling fan, meaning it can actually run for long sessions, is like, wow. So it's a really good system, really good tool. Although it creates a paradox, because I know for a fact that almost all the headline features, especially that 32-bit audio, will come to Lumix S series, meaning full frame series. Then it becomes, should I buy this right now or should I wait? Again, if you are already invested in Micro Four Third, you have the glass, go YOLO on it. But for other people who are buying it, they are stuck in an ugly position where they're like, do I trust Panasonic not to release a full frame camera that is similar-ish price and full frame? Because be mindful, the reason why full frame won out eventually is simply because we have been doing it for 1 century. 1 century. That's how much experience every camera maker has, every lens maker has, in order to make quality glass, be it Zeiss, be it Nikon, be it other companies. Canon, Nikon, Zeiss all have 1 century of experience with 35mm full frame. Now that translates to other companies also. Sigma also has a lot of experience. Tamron also has a lot of. So Micro Four Third was made into a scenario. It's like, it's cheaper and lighter. Now here's the problem. Lighter people like. Cheaper was not true, because once they actually realized it, once they actually like, okay, let's make it as good as full frame quality, as in like mean function transfer, it was not used in that many video cameras, so they could not just like borrow it. And the cameras that did use it, they were low cost system, low cost security cameras, low cost research cameras and all that. So it was never good source. That's why Micro Four Third was like always underwhelming to people. And that's why Fuji was like, no, we're gonna stuck to APS-C, and they actually survived. And be mindful, look even into Fuji system and Micro Four Third. Once you actually get a glass that is good enough, it costs almost same as full frame. And full frame has physics level benefits, so you can't beat that. So that's why it's a very scenario. If you are in Micro Four Third, go YOLO. But if you want to buy Panasonic, I would say wait until Lumix S series gets updated. Again, Lumix S has almost all the features. Oh, by the way, as of now I'm not sure, but soon they will also update, because that battery module that has that USB-C dongle can be supported by other Panasonic camera. The battery physical shape is not different, it's same. So I'm pretty sure just a firmware upgrade, they should allow other cameras to use it too. So you will get that function. USB-C audio, USB-C video recording to SSD, that's already there. Cooling fan already there. The only missing function is that 32-bit audio, which I could easily see 1 month to 2 months to 1 year. Lumix S series will get it. So for people who are not in a rush, don't look into GH7. Wait for Lumix S to get updated. Now you will have the benefit of better L-mount Alliance glass, basically better glass from Sigma, better glass from Panasonic, better glass from all other members. Now there are a lot of companies here, but glass is not that whoa. And by the time you get that whoa glass, it's like, I'm paying more than enough for a full frame system. And be mindful, even the weight would not be that big of a difference. So that was the primary weakness of Micro Four Third. It was just not that good. Be mindful, even the Blackmagic, where everybody's like Micro Four Third this, what they did is by field reducer, or from basically EF glass to Micro Four Third. So that was another reason, even though so many cameras had it, it never actually took off, because everybody was like, hey, just buy EF mount and then put a reducer, then voila. So for whom? If you are already invested in Micro Four Third, go YOLO on it. If not, I would say wait if you want to get a Panasonic system and be mindful. There are some genuinely good things, but I would not say to look into GH7 itself. So this was my presentation on GH7. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst a friend. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.